Picture this for a second. You're a kind person. You help others. You forgive easily. But despite all of that, people still disrespect you. They talk down to you. They ignore your boundaries. And then they walk off with your kindness like it's something the world owes them for free. The worst part is, you keep forgiving. According to the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, a person who too easily accepts disrespect ends up losing something priceless: their dignity, not their money, not their status, their dignity. The thing you look at in the mirror every morning that tells you who you are. Nietzsche believed that the strength of an individual is measured by their ability to defend their own worth, and there are certain behaviors you should never accept. Not because you're cruel, but because every time you forgive something that doesn't deserve forgiveness, you peel another layer of skin off your own soul. In this video, you'll discover 7 forms of disrespect you should never forgive if you want to keep your personal power intact. Number 6 is the one almost everyone tolerates in silence. And it's the one that quietly tears your self-worth apart from the inside, in a way you don't notice until it's already too late. Before we start, if this topic is touching a wound you've been hiding, hit subscribe and turn the bell on. Not for me, for you. Because some lessons you need to hear over and over until the blood flows back to the right place. I won't ask again. You've been told once. The rest is on you. Number 1. When someone lies to you on purpose. Anyone can make a mistake. Anyone can remember something wrong. But when a person knows the truth and chooses to give you the lie, that isn't an accident. That's a decision. A cold one. And that decision is telling you something they'll never admit out loud. You don't deserve the truth. A deliberate lie isn't really about the truth. It's about how they price you. When someone chooses to lie to you to protect their own comfort, to dodge a hard conversation, to keep an exit door open for themselves, they're placing you a step below them in their own mind. You're an obstacle. You're a hassle. You're a variable they're trying to manage. Nietzsche said truth is a form of courage. A person who lies constantly is showing you their cowardice and their contempt for your intelligence. But the deepest pain isn't the lie itself. It's the moment you realize you believed it. It's when you replay every question you asked and remember the steady eyes that lied right back. That's the moment something inside you starts to rot. I knew a guy once. He lied to me about something small for months. Not a huge thing, just a small thing. But when I found out, I realized what scared me wasn't the small thing at all. It was the fact that he had looked me in the eye dozens of times and decided to lie each time. Each time. Was a new decision. I didn't forgive. I left. Machiavelli teaches you a lesson that's hard to swallow. He points out that the men who keep their word are often beaten by the men who know when to break it. That's the effectual truth of the world. But there's another side of it he made very clear. When a person has broken faith with you once for a small gain, they will break it again for a larger one. That's the rule, not a probability. So if you catch a deliberate lie, don't lie to yourself with the words, "It was just once." Once doesn't exist. There's only the first time you caught them. Your dignity isn't something you negotiate with people who treat the truth like a resource they can ration. Walk away without a long explanation. Your silence is the heaviest verdict you can hand down. Number 2, when someone humiliates you in front of other people, some people love to crack jokes at your expense. At first it sounds harmless, a line, a laugh, a glance traded across the room, but over time, those lines settle into a thin layer of dust on your self-respect. One day, you look in the mirror, and you can't figure out why you've gotten quiet in front of crowds. Being humiliated in public is a refined way to claim social power. It's a performance. The joker knows you won't push back, because pushing back would make you look uptight. They're using your own politeness as the blade, and if you laugh along to keep the peace, You've just signed the contract that lets them do it again. Nietzsche said a strong individual doesn't let other people define their worth. Respect begins with how you respond to disrespect, not with how cleverly you choose your words, with how clearly you draw the line, so clearly that the other person doesn't have to guess. A guy I worked with used to joke about how I dressed in big meetings. The first time, I laughed it off. The second time, I laughed it off. The third time, I didn't laugh. I looked him straight in the eye and said one sentence. "I don't find that funny." The room went silent for 3 seconds. He turned red. From that day on, no one joked about me again. Not because I was scary, because I had put a tax on the joke. Machiavelli laid out a principle most people refuse to hear. A ruler can be hated and still survive, but a ruler who is held in contempt cannot. Contempt is the fatal wound inside human relationships. When you laugh along with the mocking, you're teaching the whole room that you can be belittled at no cost. No cost means there will be a next time, and the next time will be more expensive. So stop laughing it off. Stop telling yourself it's just a joke. A real joke doesn't need you as the meat. When you draw a line in the middle of a crowd, you're not picking a fight. You're redrawing the power map of that room, and sometimes one cold sentence placed in the right moment can change how a whole group sees you for years. Number 3. When someone keeps stepping over your boundaries. Boundaries are the frame that defines who you are. They tell other people what can touch you and what cannot. But some people ignore them entirely. They take your time, they take your space, they take your right to decide your own life under the costume of just worrying about you. And if you don't say anything, they'll keep going. Why? Because human beings always test the edges. It's reflex. Every time you stay quiet, they take note. Every time you drift away just to keep the peace, they take note. They don't even need bad intent. They just need to see that your private territory has no fence, and they'll step deeper. Nietzsche believed a human being has to create their own laws in order to live with dignity. If you don't set the rules, somebody else will set them for you. And the rules other people set are never written to serve you. I had a relative who liked to drop by unannounced during the hours I was working. Every time I said I was busy, she smiled and said, "Just a minute, that's all." A minute would turn into 2 hours. 2 hours turned into a habit. Until one day, I realized I had lost hundreds of working hours just because I couldn't say one clear sentence. I said the sentence. She was angry for a week. After a week, things went back to normal. I traded a few uncomfortable days for the rest of my years. That was a good trade. Machiavelli wrote that the founder of a state has to lay the foundation with laws before he thinks about the decoration. Your life is the same. You can't build a career, build a family, build any kind of peace on a piece of ground that anyone can walk across whenever they feel like it. First, you build the fence. Then, you plant inside. Defending your boundaries isn't selfish. It's the first condition that makes it possible for you to give anything valuable at all. A person with no boundaries has nothing to give. They only have scraps being pulled out of them from every direction. Stop handing out scraps. Build the fence first. Number 4. When someone keeps exploiting your kindness, kindness is a strength. But some people see kindness as a weakness. They always ask for more time, more help, more energy, more money, more understanding. But when you need them, they're gone. Suddenly busy, suddenly missed the message, suddenly walked right past you and didn't notice. This kind of relationship is unbalanced. And it's dangerous because it comes dressed up in the costume of closeness. You think it's friendship, you think it's family. But real friendship doesn't leave one side drained while the other side is full. Real family doesn't sort the roles into one person being an emotional ATM and the other one being the customer. Nietzsche was harsh about what he called the morality of weakness, a mindset where greedy people exploit the compassion of others by handing them the label, Good person. A good person has to help. A good person has to give. A good person has to understand. A good person has to forgive. That isn't morality. That's a trap with pretty words written on the lid. If someone only respects you when you're doing something for them, that isn't respect. That's opportunism. Hear that line one more time. If someone only respects you when you're doing something for them, that isn't respect. That's opportunism. You're not their friend, you're a service. An old friend of mine used to borrow money from me. A lot. Each time, there was a reasonable story. I lent it. I didn't chase it. One day, I needed a small favor, not money, just a few hours. He was busy for weeks. I looked back at the ledger of the friendship. Every line was red on my side. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I just stopped giving. He was gone inside a month, and I realized I had never had a friend. I had a debtor. Machiavelli wrote one line that a lot of people misread. He wasn't saying be cruel. He was saying it's better to be feared than loved, if you can't have both. Because love is a thread of gratitude. People are willing to cut whenever it gets inconvenient. Fear is the binding of cost. Inside personal relationships, nobody's telling you to plant fear. But you do have to plant cost. The cost of hurting you. The cost of using you. When your kindness has a price, people stop stealing it. Stop being good for free. Start being kind on conditions, not material conditions, conditions about how they treat you. That's the line between kindness and being a fool. If you're still here, you might be lining this list up against your own relationships in your head. If the same name keeps showing up across more than one item, that isn't a coincidence. That's a signal. Hit like on this video, not because I need it, but because the small motion is a quiet vow you make to yourself. A vow that you will not go back to being the emotional ATM for anyone. I won't bring it up again. Number 5. When someone treats you like a backup option. This is one of the most common forms of disrespect in the world right now. Someone only talks to you when they're bored. They cancel plans at the last minute. They disappear for weeks. Then they come back like nothing happened. You become a backup choice, a plan B, a name in their messages list for the nights when every other door is closed. But here's the cold truth. When someone treats you like a backup, it's because you've let them. You answered their message the second they came back. You moved your schedule to fit theirs. You didn't ask where they went. Every time you make the return easy, you're signing the same contract that lets them leave again. Nietzsche believed every individual has to create their own value. A person who knows their own worth doesn't allow themselves to be treated as a substitute, not out of pride, out of clarity. Clarity that your time is the one resource that doesn't grow back. Every hour you give to someone who treats you as plan B is an hour that will never reach the people who would treat you as plan A. A man I knew once told me he had waited on a woman for almost 4 years. She kept coming back after every failed relationship. Every time she came back, he opened the door. Every time she left, he forgave it. After 4 years, he realized he wasn't the person she chose. He was the chair she sat in between the real stages. He didn't blame her. He blamed himself for sitting in that chair so long. He stood up. He left. She came back one more time. He didn't open the door. Machiavelli wrote about alliances and war, and he was very clear. An alliance only holds when both sides actually gain from keeping it. Alliances of convenience always collapse the moment the convenience runs out. A relationship where you're only remembered when the other person has no better option is an alliance of convenience. It isn't friendship. It isn't love. It's their survival strategy, and you're the resource. So stop being plan B. The only way to stop is to stop being available the moment they call. The first time, they'll be surprised. The second time, they'll be angry. The third time, they'll find another plan B. Good. That seat is empty now. Your seat was never there. Number 6. When someone dismisses your emotions, this is the one I promised you at the start. This is the behavior almost everyone tolerates. You try to explain what you're feeling. You speak slowly. You pick your words. You try not to make it dramatic. And the answer is always the same. You're blowing this out of proportion. It's not a big deal. You're too sensitive. Other people have it way worse. Stop being so dramatic about everything. That kind of reaction is not innocent. It's a form of emotional manipulation. It teaches you to doubt your own senses. Over time, you start believing your feelings don't count. You start apologizing for feeling them. You start hiding sadness because you're afraid of being labeled drama. You start living inside a body whose inner life you no longer own. This is the most dangerous moment in your life. Because once you stop trusting your own emotions, you lose the ability to detect danger. You stay too long in toxic rooms. You go back to the people who hurt you. You convince yourself the bruise is your own fault for bumping into something. This isn't about disrespect anymore. This is about a part of you dying quietly and not being allowed to hold a funeral for it. Nietzsche said, "Emotions are the expression of your will and your lived experience." When someone denies or mocks your emotions, they're denying your existence. No one has the right to do that. Not a parent, not a partner, not a friend, not a boss. No one. I went through a very dark stretch once. I tried to tell a person close to me that I wasn't okay. The answer I got was one line, "I'll never forget." Everybody goes through that. The line sounds harmless. But it was a door slamming shut right in front of me. After that line, I never spoke to that person about anything deep again. For years, I didn't cut them off. I just retreated. And that relationship died a silent death that the other person never understood. Now I look back. I don't blame them. They didn't have the ability to hold my emotions. Some people can only hold their own. That isn't their fault. But it isn't your duty to keep placing the most fragile part of yourself into hands that don't know how to carry it. Machiavelli wrote in depth about the problem of flatterers and honest counselors. He warned that the greatest danger to a ruler isn't an enemy. It's the people around them who only tell them what they want to hear, because that blinds them to reality. A person who dismisses your emotions isn't a flatterer in the classic sense, but they're playing the same role. They keep you inside the illusion that everything is fine by denying every signal coming from your gut. Machiavelli's principle was simple. Surround yourself with people who can tell you the truth, even the truth that stings. Apply it to your life. Surround yourself with people who can hold your emotions without distorting them. This is the death of the old you. The old you was used to apologizing for feeling. The old you was used to hiding tears. The old you was used to believing you were too sensitive. Bury that version. Put a stone over it. Walk past. Because the new you doesn't need anyone else to believe in your inner life before you do. Your emotions are data. Data doesn't need permission to exist. Number 7. When someone betrays your trust. Trust is one of the most important pillars in any relationship. It takes years to build. It takes seconds to break. And when it breaks, it never sets back into its original shape. You can glue it. You can hide the cracks, but every time you look at it in low light, the cracks are still there. Betrayal reveals something very deep, a lack of loyalty, and Nietzsche considered loyalty an essential quality of strong individuals. A person who betrays your trust is showing you that they don't honor their own commitments. Constantly forgiving that kind of behavior sends a dangerous message. Your trust can be broken without consequence. Number 7 isn't here to escalate the emotion any further. Number 7 is here so you can sit down, take a breath, and look back across the 6 that came before. Machiavelli wrote about Cesare Borgia, a figure he both admired and used as a study in the limits of power. Borgia was the least forgiving man of his time when it came to betrayal. When his allies turned on him, he didn't argue, he didn't send angry letters. He invited them to a dinner, and he settled accounts at the dinner. I'm not telling you to do anything like that. That was Renaissance politics. Your life is not that stage. But there is a core principle worth pulling out. Borgia never let a betrayal stand without consequence. Because a betrayal with no consequence is an open invitation to every betrayal that comes after. Your consequence does not have to be violent. Sometimes the heaviest consequence is silent absence. It's not answering the message. It's not showing up at the wedding. It's not being in the holiday photos. It's a small nod when their name comes up in a story, and nothing else. It's a few years passing until they realize the door to you is no longer open. Forgiveness can be a beautiful quality, but forgiving everything is not wisdom. Sometimes it's a form of self-abandonment. Forgiving a traitor who has never admitted the betrayal isn't compassion. It's you handing over the most expensive gift you own to a person who doesn't even know what the gift is. These 7 behaviors are not here to teach you to hate the world. They're a mirror to look into every relationship in your life and ask one single question. In this relationship, is my dignity still intact? Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy reminds you of one essential thing. The respect other people give you usually depends on the respect you give yourself. When you refuse certain behaviors, you're showing the world that your dignity is not up for negotiation, and paradoxically, that's the exact moment people actually start respecting you. So remember, not everything deserves your forgiveness. Some things only deserve your distance. Forgiveness is a gift. Distance is a verdict. And sometimes, a silent verdict speaks louder than 10,000 spoken complaints. If this video touched a nerve, do one small thing before you go. Write down the name of one person you have forgiven too many times. You don't have to send it to anyone. You don't have to confront anyone. Just write it down. Because writing the name down is the first step of taking ownership of your life back. And if you want more lessons in this same voice, subscribe. This is the last invitation I'll send you. The rest is on you. Forgiveness is a gift. Distance is a verdict. Hand both out fairly, and never confuse kindness with self-abandonment.